Hey everyone, this is Andrew J. Polk with News Radio 690 KTSM, host of Talk El Paso, airing every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on 690. We had an extensive interview with Congresswoman Veronica Escobar done ahead of her vote that then she went down and voted in favor of for the HEROES Act that is now in its tumultuous times it's facing in the Senate floor. We did not get to air the entirety of that interview just due to time constraints, and it was quite wide-ranging, including on some of the vote-by-mail aspects included in the HEROES Act and stuff that may be teed up for future debate here. So we wanted to bring that other part to you here and make sure that you heard the full discussion. So, again, here is the portion we weren't able to air on Saturday, May 16th of 2020 with the Veronica Escobar interview and talking about vote-by-mail. Enjoy. One final question I have for you here. We talked a little bit about some of those stimulus payments of which this bill does include. What does this bill do to address any kind of vote-by-mail or absentee voting?
Glad you brought it up. It's interesting. I've seen ramping up on Facebook of the effort to prevent people from having access to a ballot by mail. This actually it provides more funding for secretaries of state in each state, that funding that will go into counties like El Paso specifically for mail-in ballots, and for those counties that also want to have safe early voting. It provides for the equipment, the cleaning materials, et cetera, that they would need. I do want to talk a little bit about that, Andrew, because the conspiracy theories are, I think, really harmful and not rooted in fact. And I want to describe for the public why it's important to both preserve people's right to vote and their decision to be safe. If this pandemic, first of all, we've got a July runoff.
Right.
We don't know if the pandemic will have subsided by then. And one of the things that many of us are very concerned about, and these are legitimate concerns, many of our polling locations are shut down, like schools. When you go to schools to vote, it's under normal circumstances, but these are not normal circumstances. So there will be a very small number of places available for elections offices to use for voting. If you have not seen the photos and video of what's happened in other states that did not have mail-in ballots during the pandemic, what you don't know is then that people literally had to stand and wait for hours and hours in the rain, in the snow, the elderly, you name it. They had to wait, stand 6 feet apart. Every time somebody uses a voting machine, it's not like it is an efficient process. The elections folks then have to go in and clean everything before the next group of 3 or 4 or 5 people walk in. It is an extremely time-consuming process. There's absolutely no need to put people through that kind of unreasonable process. There's no reason for elections offices to struggle to find sites and volunteers and paid staffers to work these elections. There will be a diminished pool of people who would be willing to work during a pandemic, literally, having to be in very close proximity to people over and over again. So we've got the July runoff, we've got the November general election. There's projections by Dr. Fauci and others that we will see the pandemic come back in the fall. We have to be prepared for that. Mail-in ballots have been safely and securely used for generations, literally. When I was away at college, I sent in a mail-in ballot. Both my kids in college used mail-in ballots. My brother, who's a veteran of the Navy, a foreign service officer who lives overseas, uses a mail-in ballot. The military uses mail-in ballots. Seniors and those who are sick use mail-in ballots. This idea that what's been floating around is that Republicans can't win when there's mail-in ballots, that's false. We just saw an election in California, the election where my former colleague Katie Hill was replaced by an incoming member of Congress, Congressman-elect Garcia. He's a Republican. He won with mail-in ballots. The whole state of Washington, or maybe it's Oregon, I can't remember which, has used a mail-in ballot program for years, and it's worked and it's safe. The needless fear-mongering around mail-in ballots, it is directly linked to a tactic by some to limit people's access to the voting booth. So I believe in the opposite. I want to see increased numbers of people voting. It's an important component of our democracy. It helps determine our leadership and the direction we're going in as a country. There's no reason to limit people's access during a pandemic. We're better than that. So I'm very proud of that component in this bill.
And doing a quick check here, it is Oregon that has done the pretty widespread vote by mail here for a while. So, all right, well, Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. Again, ahead of you headed to the House floor to vote on the HEROES Act. And again, if people want to find out more information about what is going to be in there, the provisions of it, they can visit your congressional website, escobar.house.gov, which we'll also have posted on our Facebook page in the live stream there. Thank you very much for talking with us today, Congresswoman Escobar.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Take care.
So again, thank you to Congresswoman Escobar for taking the time to put that together. Again, we were speaking ahead of the House vote. That bill, the HEROES Act, Coronavirus Response Bill, has now passed at this point, but again, faces a very difficult time in the Republican-controlled Senate. So Talk El Paso airs regularly Saturday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Have a great day, everyone.